All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Jacob Tucker back at it again for another YouTube video. And in this one, we're going to be doing challenge number 2, Fungible Token inside of Emerald Academy. So if you don't know already, the Emerald Academy challenges are basically like, quick ways to learn about some quirks about dApp development and, the Flow emulator and cadence and stuff like that. And it's just a quick way to grasp these concepts, sort of. And because we provide all the source code for you, afterwards you can dive into the code, change things around, and figure it out on your own. But anyways, we're going to be walking through the Fungible Token Challenge, and so we're going to be deploying our own Fungible Token contract using the local Flow emulator, which is like a local blockchain on our computer, a local Flow Dev wallet. That's a wallet that we use to, run the wallet on our computer, and also Next.js is what we're going to use for our front end, to get a little web server going. So the final deliverable is going to be a dApp that lets you just create their own fungible token, transfer them to each other, mint tokens, and stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. So checkpoint 0, this is the install phase. If you're at this point, if you're at this challenge, you've already done the previous two. So I'm not going to dive too into this, but you should have git node, and remember, you have node if you do node-v. In this case, I have v16.16. If you have something near there, that's probably good. Probably the more recent, the better. But if you're at like node 17 maybe and it's not working, maybe drop down to 16. I don't know. And then the flow CLI. Once again, if you don't have the flow CLI yet, you can go to this link that was right here. You can, if you're on Mac, copy this link. If you're on Linux, copy this link. And if you're on Windows, copy this link and then paste that into your terminal and click enter. And when you're done, if you type flow version, you should see a version number pop up. So I'm currently using version 0.39.1, and that's pretty much all the setup you're going to need today. Okay, so in order to get started, let's go ahead and clone our challenge to our local computer. Remember, this is just bringing the code onto our computer. And now that we did that, we can cd into that directory, which is called to Fundable Token. And it wants us to run npm install, which will just install all the dependencies for us, okay? Now, I have 4 terminals open, and there's going to be a reason for that. If you've done the previous non-fungible token challenge, you know why, but anyways, yep. So we installed our dependencies using npm I, and the next step is to run npm Run Dev. Let's go ahead and do that. npm Run Dev. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to start this application on our web browser. So if we go to localhost 3000, it should load right up pretty quickly. So woohoo, we did it. All is good. Now, well, actually, all is not good because if we go to click connect, it's not going to work, right? And if you've done the previous challenges, you know this is because we haven't run the local emulator yet or our dev wallet. So in a second terminal window, let's go to second terminal window and cd into our project. I'm going to clear this just for just to make things look nicer. Let's run flow emulator start -v. So if I run flow emulator start -v, it's going to start a local blockchain on our computer just so that we can do some testing and use this application, right? So boom, we did that. Okay. Now in the third terminal window, we're also going to cd to the fungible token example, and we're going to run flow project deploy. Now this is going to deploy flow project deploy. This is going to deploy all of our contracts to our local blockchain, and then we're going to run flow dev wallet, which is going to start our local dev wallet. All right, so if we run flow dev wallet, it's starting the dev wallet. And now if we go back to our application, I'm going to X that out. If we go back to our application, refresh the page, and click connect, now a wallet should pop up, right? So now we're actually, connecting to the blockchain using wallets, and we're making some awesome progress. Okay. So let's click on service account just to log in, and you should see some stuff pop up. But you can see we've logged into this address up top, and all is cool. Now on the right-hand side, if we go and click on this refresh button, we're gonna get an error, right? And so we're gonna get a weird error that says like cannot borrow the balance reference to the vault. Now this is because again, if you watch the previous non-fungible token challenge where we had to set up a collection in order to actually hold NFTs, it's the same thing for tokens on Flow, in that if you want to hold tokens like Flow token, you have to be able to, you have to have a vault in your account to hold those tokens. So this is what the next part is talking about. So checkpoint 1 was just talking about loading in with a wallet. We already did that. Checkpoint 2 is reading our balance. And if we get to this part, it's telling us how to fix that error. So if we click on this setup vault button, if we refresh the page, click setup vault, this is going to run a transaction to set up a vault inside our account. So if we click approve, now we just set up our own fungible token that we used that we're going to be using inside our account. Now let's actually pull up some of the code for this and walk through like what exactly just happened. So first of all, the contracts that we deployed are like the contracts that we deployed are fungible token, right? I don't know why there's a weird error here, but anyways, fungible token, right? That's our example token, sorry. That's our version of like an example token. So when you think about like flow token, right? That's a contract that exists on the Flow blockchain, and it implements this fungible token standard. Now, this example token is my own example token that I'm creating, and I just deployed it to my local emulator. So we deployed this contract, and we also deployed fungible token.cdc. Now, remember, this is a standard contract. So when we go to testnet, we're not going to have to deploy this one because it's already deployed. But for a local contract or for a local blockchain, we had to deploy it because it's on our local computer, right? Now, I would just ignore these errors. I don't know why those are there. Now, in order to actually set up our account, you can actually view the cadence code for that in Flow Cadence Transactions Setup Vault. This is the transaction that we use to actually set up our vault in our account. Now, the way we do this actually, like on the web page, and when you click Setup Vault, and it actually sets it up for you. That's all in this file, all under Pages and Index.js. You'll see this is all like just JSX. Like this is what's being rendered or put on the screen. But these three functions right here are actually how we're interacting with the blockchain. So setup vault, here's a function. All it does is call fcl.mutate, which is it calls a transaction on the Flow blockchain using FCL. FCL is the Flow client library. It's basically like a way for JavaScript to interact with the blockchain. And then we have some cadence code in here that I just showed you in that cadence file, right, in the setup vault file. We do, there's no arguments for this. The proposer, payer, and authorizations are just the user that's logged in, which is fcl.auths, and that's it, right? And it prints a transaction ID for us. So that's how it's being called. And down here, if we actually go to the setup vault button, that's this button right here, you can see when we click it, we're calling the setup vault function, which is defined right here. Okay, so that's sort of like the behind the scenes of how that's happening. So now when we click on refresh the page or refresh the balance, it's giving us 0, right? So it's not giving us an error this time. It's actually giving us a normal balance, and that's great. So the next part of this is going to be minting fungible tokens, right? How do we get fungible tokens into existence? Well, what we can do is, in the fourth terminal, we can run npm run mint, and the first argument is going to be the person who we want to mint to. So I'm going to put in this address right here, one that we're logged into. And the second argument is how many. So I'm going to put 30 tokens, okay? Now it's going to do some fancy stuff, print a transaction ID, and if we go back and refresh the balance, we should get 30 now, right? So really awesome. Now, the way this is happening is inside of this actions folder, mint tokens.js, you'll see in here, it's calling a mint tokens function with these two weird things. These weird things are literally just the arguments we typed in. So the first one is the first one in the array, or the number 0. That's the address we typed in. And the second one is the amount, so 30, right? So that's the second one in the array, or index 1. And then we call that's the recipient, the amount. And then just like I showed you in index.js for the setup vault function right here, in mint tokens, we do this very similar things. We call fcl.mutate with the cadence code right here. I set up like a special, it's called like an authorization function for you. So it just authorizes it on behalf of like the service account, which is like the admin account on the local emulator. So all pretty simple right there, right? And then, again, if you have more questions about this, you can definitely check it out on my YouTube channel. But I just wanted to give you a broad overview of how this stuff is happening. So this, so this is the code. You can check it out, play around with it if you want to, and also even see how the server authorization function is defined. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and mint those tokens. Now, what's the next step? The next step is to set up empty user vault again for another account, okay? So if we wanted to, we could transfer these tokens to another account, but we can't because that other account, whatever account it may be, doesn't have a vault set up yet. So let's log out, connect, and make a new account called like Jacob. And if we click create and log in with it, you'll notice if we go to refresh, it's going to give us an error, right? Because it doesn't have a vault set up yet. So let's go ahead and set up the vault. Okay, refresh the page, and now we have a 0 balance. So let's copy and paste. Let's copy this address, log out, go back to the service account, put that in the recipient, and then let's transfer, I don't know, 10 to that address. Okay, so we have 30 right now. We want to transfer 10. So if we click transfer tokens, again, that's calling this function, transfer tokens, with an amount and a recipient. All right, here's the cadence code. Here's all the fancy arguments, right? We call that, click approve, and refresh. Now we only have a balance of 20 because we just sent the transaction. And if we were to log out, connect again into a Jacob and refresh, now we only have, now there's 10 in here instead of 0, right? So we correctly transferred the tokens over to that account. All right, so that's what it was saying right here. And cool. So we just transfer, that was checkpoint number 5, we transfer the tokens. Now, the next part is going to be to deploy this to testnet. So, right now, all this testing or all that we just did is on our local computer. So if we were to put this DApp out there on Vercel or deploy it somewhere, people wouldn't be able to use it. It's all on our local computer. Let's actually use testnet so that anyone can go on here and, or if theoretically, if we were to, put this DApp out there in the world, anyone would be able to use it. Or if someone, for some weird reason, on their own computer wanted to use our testnet token, they could do that. So let's go and follow this step. So ready to deploy to a testnet? Yes, I am. Let's first create an account in order to deploy the contract to. Right, we need to actually create an account in order to deploy a contract to it, and then we can interact with that contract once it's deployed. So let's go ahead and make an account first, and then we'll deploy to it. So in a terminal, we're going to put in flow keys generate network testnet. So what's pasted right there? Let's paste that right here. And it's going to give us a private key and public key. Now what we can do is let's go to the testnet faucet, and we're going to actually generate the account with this key pair. So you take the key pair, let's say the public key, you paste that right here. You click I am human, and we have to click each image containing a horse facing to the left. I saw a tweet from Andrea, my friend in the Flow ecos like on the dev advocacy team, and Andrea is so funny because Andrea put a tweet out saying like, "What are these captchas nowadays?" I honestly totally agree. What the heck is going on? All right, so now I'm creating an account. Again, it took my public key. Now it's actually going to create an address we can deploy an account to, or deploy our contract to. Sorry. So let's go ahead and wait for this to be done. And once this is done, it's going to give us an address right here that we can use to deploy our contract to. Okay, so let's leave this here for now and keep following these steps. So let's add our new testnet account to our flow.json by modifying the file. So just like we did in the other challenges, by the way, I know I'm going pretty quick, but it's because if you're confused, I would definitely recommend checking the previous videos first. But inside this file, we're going to copy the testnet account, right? Put that under accounts. So we're making a new account. This was for the one we used on the emulator. This is for testnet. We need to put our generated address. So our generated address is the one that we just copied, or the one that we just made. I'm going to paste that there, and then our private key. So our private key is the one that we generated here that matches the public key. Let's copy this, paste it right here. All right. And now if we go back, we need to also add this testnet right here, this testnet object. Let's take the testnet object, add that right there. And now we can actually deploy our contract. So if we type flow project deploy network equals testnet, it's going to deploy our example token contract to the public testnet. So now theoretically, anyone on testnet can interact with this contract, and it's our own token, right? So it's pretty interesting. And of course, if you want to check out the example token code, you can go to flow and then cadence and then example token right here and check it out. And it's actually like almost identical to how flow token is defined. Okay, so is that successful? Yes, all contracts deployed successfully. Woohoo, we did it. So the next part is we want to go down here, and in our env, we want to change the following. So change next public contract address to our new generated address. So let's go ahead to our env, change next public contract address to our generated address. Oops, that would be right here. Okay, change it to that. Change the public standard address to this one right here. Okay. And by the way, the reason that this one's a constant, like if you see on this page, the reason that it's like already written for us right here is because this is like the address of where the fungible token standard contract is deployed to. So again, we didn't redeploy that one because it's a standard contract. So it's already deployed out there, which is why it's right here. And then this was our generated address that, is our own custom token. Then we want to change the private key to your private key. So let's go ahead and take the private key and paste that right here. Now this is going to be used inside of the mint tokens.js to mint tokens, right? Because it actually needs like the admin account or the private key to mint the tokens. So that's that. Where was I? env. We're going to change the next public access node to this link. Now this is going to change the dApp from looking at our local blockchain to a public testnet, right? And then we're going to change the next public wallet to this to FCL Discovery. And this is, remember, changing the FCL Dev wallet to look at, or changing the dApp from looking at a local FCL Dev wallet to a public FCL Discovery, which has like Blockdo testnet, LilyGo testnet, hopefully in the future Dapper wallet testnet, and whatever other wallets. All right. So now we're gonna we can cancel out our emulator, which is great because we're not running a local blockchain anymore. This is all in public testnet. And similar with the FCL Dev wallet, we don't even need that anymore because we don't need either of these terminals because we're not running a local blockchain anymore. So let's go ahead, restart. I press Control C to stop the web server, and let's rerun npm Run Dev. And when this is done, and it should load up this website again, which it did. And if we now log out, refresh the page, reset everything, and click connect, it should bring up Blockto and LilyGo testnet, which is so nice, right? Now, as a challenge, I want all of you to go through the same process that we did before on local emulator, but instead use testnet this time, and see if you can do it. And if you have any questions at all along the way, feel free to ask in the Emerald City Discord, in the Emerald Academy, section in the chat channel. You can always ask right here, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have while trying this on testnet. And again, yeah, so if you want to check out more challenges, hopefully by the time you see this in the future, there are more challenges for you to complete. And yep, with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.